Hello, and welcome to a prologue of A Dream of Aztera. I'm your host, Dungeon Dave. Joining me are my favorite dungeon delving pals. We're recording at the beautiful Coolidge Corner Theater in Boston, Massachusetts. To my right is Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm playing Scarf in Summer, a tabaxi bard from Ajiri. A tabaxi is a feline humanoid, so he's a Mayari, which is the collective name for the animal humanoids in this world. And to my right is Riley.
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm going to be playing Marco, who is a human urchin type and aspiring swashbuckler, and I'm going to pass it along to Shanae.
Hi, I'm Shanae. I'm playing Maydara. May is a dragonborn. She's a druid, and to my right is Ari.
Hi, my name is Ari. My preferred pronouns are they, them, please. Zava, alias Helen, is a human, probably. She's a very, very deceitful human. She's also a anti-paladin, a cool homebrew class I found that is a sort of unholy avenger. You know, nothing spooky about that, right, friends?
Sure.
Correct.
Without further ado, we welcome you to A Dream of Aztera Preview.
Dragalizik has always been home to May. Though it has been years since she's been here last, the sight of her proud village at the end of the Ushil Desert still comes to mind just as clearly as on the day she left. The brightly colored multitude of tents and banners swaying in a breeze, the warm scent of spices from a shared feast between clans, songs in Old Draconic sung by the eldest of the Dragonborn, floating out into the starlit heavens each night. These images of home have followed her for many miles, and now that she stands at the edge of her village, having at last trekked hundreds of miles of scorching desert to return, there is little left of her home to recognize. There are no tents and banners swaying in the breeze, no draconic songs to fill the air, and the only scent is not of spices from shared feasts, but of smoke and burning. It's deafeningly quiet.
Is my family home still there?
Would you like to go look for it?
Yes.
You are able to find it, though you walk right past it at first, because it doesn't look the same. The fabrics, the textiles that adorn most of these buildings are all gone, including the ones that had been in your home.
I guess that I would wander around this weird ghost town that used to be my home for a little while and see how weird it is that everything is gone.
Like you're tiptoeing through some awkward dream because of how hollow everything seems.
I would like to go to the temple.
The temple. Describe to us what the temple for the Dragonborn might be like.
It's like this great hall that a lot of the elders of the clan would meet at and make big important decisions for everyone. I haven't been there very often, probably once or twice in my childhood.
This is much easier to spot because it is probably the largest thing in your village, and it's made of stone, so it is still there, fortunately. The tall stone arches outside the Elder Council Temple are shrouded in smoke, though no fire remains visible. Something large and furry is curled on the ground, its body rising and falling softly as it slumbers. A heavy barbed chain is leashed around its neck, keeping it tethered to the stone archway.
Is it a dog?
It is far too large to be a dog.
Is it a giant dog?
Intelligence, nature, to try to identify this creature.
I'm so glad that I have proficiency in that. 10.
It does seem perhaps only to be a big dog to you, though that also doesn't seem quite right. You can't spot it well without getting closer. The one thing is clear to you, the creature looks emaciated, with lacerations and scorch marks covering its long body. Its forehead appears branded by an orcish mark, but not one that you recognized. Strapped to the warg are 2 heavy bags, each of which seem to be overflowing with a glint of gold and silver peering through.
Is someone looting the temple? This is
It's
disrespectful.
and still the temple awaits ahead. Do you turn around or do you venture
I
on?
want to steal the dog. I, inch around the beast and go into the temple.
Let me see a stealth check.
11.
You-
It's sleeping.
Are shifting around the slumbering creature when you reach the first step, and your bare foot goes right against the sand on the step, and in an instant, the creature rolls up, hurls itself at you, its hair standing at ends, its fangs dripping, all in a moment, ready to tear your head off. But it stops a few feet short of you, yanking at its chain, chipping at the stone that's keeping him tethered in place. But he's barking at you wildly.
I look in my bag for a ration and I throw it at him. Just here's some jerky.
He barks again, and then can't help himself but to be distracted by the scent of food. He immediately eats it up, and a huge gulp and turns to you.
Good boy.
Barks again.
Shh.
Handle animal.
Cool. That's an 18.
Providing him with food, this emaciated creature clearly meant a lot to him, and something about your scent seems to belong in this place. You stop disturbing him, and he otherwise goes back and he's licking the sand where the food had rested on.
Oh.
So you have perhaps not charmed this big hound-like creature, but it is no longer barking at you.
I go inside. Maybe later I will become friends with this animal and we'll ride off into the sunset. I go into the temple.
The state is not your enemy. The state is sympathetic to your situation and is attempting to do everything in its power to provide for you. In order to do that, however, we must first determine that you are not a threat to the state. Because of this...
A morning star presses firmly against one of Scarf's tall shoulders. You. A sudden gruff voice addresses him from behind. Out of line, over there.
Scarf turns around and says, "No, you're out of line."
Would you like to roll a persuasion?
Am I trying to convince him that he's out of line?
Are you
Sure. Yes. I'm going to roll a persuasion skill, so I have a +5 in, so I'm at that's a 13.
The guard rolls his eyes and says, "Over there." The morning star waves to the indicated direction.
It was a joke. I'm a comedian.
The guard at the gate continues reading from his scroll.
By decree of Doran Wick, Marshal of the Order of the Realms, no person is permitted to travel throughout Everil without proper accompaniment until the state of emergency issued by the Order has been lifted. All food, animals, and livestock will be confiscated. The state appreciates your cooperation at this trying time.
The guard concludes his speech with a swift pivot before marching back through the city gates. A host of guards continue rifling through the nearly half-mile line of sullen locals, battered refugees, and countless other displaced persons. There is an orchestra of nervous murmuring all around.
Trying to sneak in food, huh? I'll be taking it.
They're only water.
Helen is near Scarf's interaction with the guard, when out of nowhere, an unfamiliar voice suddenly whispers into her ear.
Don't let them take him away.
Against my better judgment, because I've just spent the last however many hours listening to Scarf, who I stood next to in line because Scarf is eye-catching.
Yeah, I stand out.
Against my better judgment, and I look around warily. Where did this voice come from?
You look around for this voice, and yet there are many people around you. No one seems to be speaking as clearly as the voice was, whispering into your ear.
I step out of line and head towards this guard and say, "Excuse me, can I speak with you for a moment?"
You walk up to this guard that approached Scarf first.
"Sir, and I'll thank you for your secrecy. What's your name?"
What's this? What are you doing out of line?
I pull out my forged Order of the Realms documents, flash them quickly, and say, "Look, what was your name again, son?"
Well, Ralph, as it is, sir. Ma'am.
It's all right. My companion and I, that one with the funny face, we're on Order of the Realms business, and we're to keep a low profile. I'd thank you to, maybe move along. This is very much a lie.
I think I would like to see the roll for that.
Seeing Helen move up to the other guard, I'm probably going to try to scurry to catch up with Helen.
Deception, that's 14.
This seems to work on the dim-witted guard, who otherwise seems too exhausted and preoccupied and confused to really argue with you. It seems pretty clear right off the bat he's never met someone who represents the Order of the Realms. So you are able to convince this guard that you are an important person and that he ought to leave you alone, and so he does so. He quickly scurries away.
I don't know what you did, but great job.
Back in line.
Are we not? Okay, back in line.
The two of them step back in line, and a moment passes.
You should have thought of that before we left home.
Sleep. When was the last time any of us got sleep?
And then two horns are blown in unison. All right, all of you, this line is moving. We've got a lot of people to get through, so let's move. The larger line slowly begins creeping forward, while the smaller line is remaining still.
Okay, so what do we... I'm supposed
We
to
work
be here.
for the Order of the Realms. If you don't want to be hassled, you work with me.
Okay, yeah, that sounds better than...
And you've talked. You're good at.
I mean,
You're great at. You're a talkative fellow.
I'm good, and gosh darn it, people like me.
Exactly.
Immediately,
yeah.
you're saying this and you realize that everyone around you is just sort of like fixed on you because you are this almost 7-foot tall Mayari.
Paint a portrait, it'll last longer.
Essentially,
Huh?
in hushed tones.
Never seen a tabaxi before?
Our business is secret.
Oh yeah, secret.
And I need you to back me up.
Is my business secret? I
Yes,
feel like my business
yes.
isn't secret.
Pause
Yes.
there, because an arm stretches out and stops you, right as you're walking. A second guard, this one caped, looks at you, Scarf, with suspicious eyes, and then on you, Helen. How'd you get to the large line?
Well, we were in the large line, and then the large line was here.
Let me handle this, okay?
Of course.
Do you mind if we step a little bit away from the line? We're already drawing too much attention.
I think not.
Oh.
The gentleman says, looking at you with raised eyebrows.
I pull out my forged documents and I say, maybe then look at this with a quick glance and try not to draw too much attention to us, okay?
He pulls it out of your hand before you can finish, unfurls it, and looks at it for an uncomfortable amount of time. And then he looks at you, Scarf, and he looks at you, Helen.
I raise my eyebrows. If cats have eyebrows.
He says, "You shouldn't be so reckless. Order of the Realms needs a personal escort. Remember that. You shouldn't risk yourselves out here."
We're on a mission of a sensitive nature that requires what might seem
Tact.
to you tact, a more delicate touch, perhaps even more delicate than you might be used to.
Subterfuge.
Tell me, what is your name so that I can thank you through my superiors later? Deception. And is Adam...
Yeah, I'm helping.
So you want to aid on
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
So you have advantage, Helen.
So because I have advantage, I rolled a 2 and 18, I get to take the 18, and that brings my deception to 23.
He hands it back to you briskly. "Let me know if I can be of any assistance. They're going to try to give you a second inspection on the inside. You can skip it.
Your name, sir?
My name is Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
I'm the
Nathaniel.
captain of this post."
It's a good, strong name you got.
Thank you for your service to the Order.
He lifts his arm and says, "This line is moving."
Remember, you never saw us.
Marco awakens with a jolt. He's soaked in sweat and breathing heavy. His sudden movement startles a young refugee girl who's rummaging through his pockets. She runs away quick to the end of the alley, where Marco's attention is drawn toward the contentious commotion of the masses gathering in the marketplace. Peering over the crowds, you can see the huge stone crab fountain that adorns the center of the marketplace, the sigil of your homeland. It's just the way it's facing, of course, but you can't help but feel that it's directed straight at you. Its stony glance, unflinching. You feel your heart racing in your chest. Actually, it's something squirming in your breast pocket.
I reach into my pocket.
You reach in your pocket and you feel a little crab. Who is this creature, Marco?
It's Eugene. I pull out Eugene.
And who's Eugene?
Eugene is a gift from an old friend and has been Marco's companion for a long time now. Just like Marco, Eugene's missing one eye. Still frightened from the dream, Marco inspects Eugene to make sure he's okay. Oh, Eugene, I just had a frightening nightmare.
Even Eugene seems a bit frightened by the ominous looming of the crab statue.
Marco holds up Eugene in his hand so that his silhouette overshadows the crab statue and makes him larger.
Yeah, Eugene gets a kick out of this. He gives you a strongman pose, showing that he is much tougher than this crab statue.
Damn right. I walk to the end of the alleyway to inspect the marketplace.
Skin Bottom Wharf has always been a familiar home for you, Marco, but never once have you witnessed such distress in a place that has always been known to be a gentle and welcome safe haven for adventurers, travelers, and above all, those in need. But all evidence of Skin Bottom Wharf's charm and hospitality has been lost in the matter of a week. The first ship of refugees from Aristas came in the night, bearing disturbing news from the distant western lands. Dark gods and demons, armies of the undead, death and destruction annihilating everything in its path, and its path is heading this way. By the next morning, a dozen more ships had arrived seeking asylum, all of them bearing similar tales of woe and horror. A week had passed, and every day since, Aristar's ships have poured into Skin Bottom Wharf. Now there is little to remind Marco of the home he knows so well. Marco, the marketplace is nauseating. Everywhere around, people are shoving and cursing. If you stick around much longer, you're only going to be forced to join the fray.
Marco heads to the dockyard.
You're heading through the streets, which are sprawling with tattered tents and broken possessions. Strangers clutch at gaping wounds. Displaced families camp in alleyways and huddle together to share what few comforts remain. Every shop and inn from every district is sealed up tight with signs reading, "No food available. Keep out." Bells clang loudly overhead, forbidding any further ships from entering. Still, they close in.
Marco looks over to Eugene, who's now perched on his shoulder. Pinch me, little buddy. Seems like this whole town has fallen into a nightmare. I put Eugene back in my pocket.
Marco is getting close to the dockyard now. The clouds are overcast and beginning to mist. The sun is sinking into twilight, and the horizon over Aristas in the west, so thin and distant, is like the edge of a razor, crimson with blood. From this vantage point, you can see dozens of Aristas ships still arriving, their flags an array of colors and patterns largely unknown to the natives of Aztera. Below, the wooden planks that make up the mile-long stretch of Skin Bottom Wharf's boardwalk groan under the buckling weight of the throngs. Another ship docks, and a stream of refugees come flooding from it. Humans and half-orcs, elves and little folk alike, are all pushing down the ship's plank, past the outnumbered guards below, or failing to hold back the sheer numbers pouring in to the small shantytown from all sides. Just then, a sudden blunt force rams into Marco from behind. Roll a dexterity save, Marco, to avoid falling prone.
8.
Marco, you fall flat onto the ground. A small emerald-cloaked person jets past you, whispering behind them, "Sorry," before disappearing into the crowd.
The hell? I get up.
Would you make a perception check for me, Marco?
14.
You look up and see a figure, cloaked in gray, perched on a rooftop, watching the person that bumped into you run away. Their features are hidden under an oddly shaped helm. You're not certain, but it looks like a bird or a griffin.
Go on, move!
A group of guards shove past, darting after the emerald cloak. You look back to the rooftop and see that the person with the strange helm is gone.
What the hell is going on?
No, 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 no!
A portly dockyard marshal is shouting at an approaching ship.
Turn it round, Willem! Turn it round! I have half a mind to hang as it is!
A large caravel ship is slowing itself to a halt just off the dock. The ship seems practically overflowing with refugees, all of them looking on with familiar looks of fear, starvation, and exhaustion. The vessel's familiarity jumps out at Marco. This is Dominic's ship. The captain of the vessel steps onto the railing at the head of the ship, only it's not Dominic. Marco recognizes the man at once. The young Captain Willem Thatcher has a reputation for being a mischievous and nefarious ne'er-do-well, known for taking any sort of risk, if the price is right. He's lanky and unkempt, with steely eyes and sunken cheeks. His smile is a repulsive gleam of colors. Where once his teeth had been, now are boiled down coins, medals, and gemstones. Lost them in a contest, he likes to claim, though the truth of this seems as questionable as the rest of him. These serve me better anyway. That and his constant tendency to smirk when up to no good, which is always, has gained him the moniker Glimmertooth.
As if today couldn't get any worse.
His eyes are scanning the dockyard for something when he spots Marco. A grin stretches across his face.
Go on, I said!
The dock marshal's face is glowing red with anger.
Get them out, Willem!
Get them out, Marshal? Willem replies through a smirk. Very well.
Get them out, boys!
Willem stomps his foot on the deck twice, and a thick wooden ramp drops down from the side of the ship to the dock. A tidal wave of refugees come pouring down it, and the red-faced marshal is lost in the wave of chaos. Willem's eyes are back on Marco, his slimy smirk returning. Willem grabs at a ship line nearest to him and cuts it quick with a flash of a dagger. With a rope in hand, he swoops down onto the dockyard with a flourish, landing just in front of Marco.
Glimmertooth.
Well, if it isn't my favorite one-eyed, one-legged orphan boy. What's the matter, little Marco? Lost your cock since last we met?
I just forgot how ugly you are.
Someone really ought to teach you how to use that sword to defend yourself before there's nothing left. Didn't Dominic teach you anything?
Marco grabs at his rapier. Do we need to run a refresher course?
Glimmertooth slides out, a rapier at his side. The handle glistens of gold. You recognize it, only it's not his. That sword used to belong to his old master.
Where's Dominic?
You don't know? Oh, must have been a while since you've seen this ship then. Must have been a while since you've seen him. Oh, Marco Di Solo. Alone again.
Marco's blood boils. I don't have time for this.
Come, if you can hit me, I'll tell you.
Marco takes a swing immediately.
This takes us to our first combat. That is an attack roll, Marco.
15. Marco gets into his fencing stance and takes a stab to test at Willem's reflexes.
However, Willem is able to parry at the last second, and you pass by each other, your boots making a scuffing sound on the ground. He wheels around. Ooh, not bad, Marco. You've been holding out on me.
Marco tries to hop on his peg leg to show off his hand-eye coordination. Shall we make this a little more even?
This gets a smile from old Glimmertooth. He lunges forward quickly with a series of piercing strikes. What's your armor class, Marco?
It's 16 when I'm holding a one-handed weapon.
Glimmertooth's first strike comes just over your shoulder. Just like old times, eh, Marco? But the second one doesn't miss, just over your heart. You take 4 damage.
If that stolen sword doesn't kill me, then that ugly smile might.
Perhaps it was just more of that old dumb luck of yours. Perhaps you haven't been holding out at all.
Let's wipe that ugly smile off your face. Marco goes in to disarm Willem and rolls a 16.
Well, he rolled a 1. By taunting you, he was so distracted that you were able to fling the sword right out of his hand, right into the water.
I grapple Willem while he's surprised. Our faces right next to one another. Ask again, where's Dominic?
Easy now, easy. I'm not here to put you in your place this time, little Marco. This time I'm here on business. This time, it's your precious Dominic who sent me.
Marco stares into Willem's eyes before shoving him off and then wiping off his hand, putting away his rapier.
Willem steps back, full grimace, admiring the look of surprise on Marco's face. That's right, little Marco. I know how to find him.
Where is he?
Willem's hand slowly lifts from the inside of his ragged jacket, subtly revealing a scroll at his side. Now are we going to play nice with each other? The smirk on Willem's face fades. Or are you going to let Dominic die? Thank you for listening to this preview from the prologue of our ongoing 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign, A Dream of Aztera. This is a mere 30-minute sample of our 2-hour-long prologue episode, and the prologue is only one episode of a long saga I've been sharing with my closest friends for over 10 years now. In order for us to finally share our epic tale with you, dear listener, we're going to need your help.
The party meets about once a month to sit down and play a session for roughly 4 to 6 hours.
That episode is then edited by me. But editing D&D gameplay into something well-paced, entertaining, and cinematic isn't easy. Taking that kind of time off work to edit costs money.
The same can be said for the writing. We're still playing through and recording the first act of our story, and already we have hundreds of pages of flavor text and lore written to help enhance the story.
Text and lore, I then revise and improve upon. Having a second set of eyes on a project is key, especially when that second set of eyes has a vastly superior intelligence score.
But we also want to provide artistic elements so that you can get a better sense of the world we're playing in. Your donation helps to write and edit the episodes, but it also goes toward adding new art and music to our world. A portion of your donation today goes straight to local artists and musicians.
So whether it's pitching in to help fund a new kind of storytelling adventure, or sharing our story with someone you know who will find it magical,
we thank you, listener, for joining us for this tale.
Aztera is a place where dreams become reality.
So please, help us bring this story to life.
And thank you for listening to
A Dream of Aztera.